The Super Smash Bros. Series is notorious for its diverse selection of characters, and of everything we fans enjoy about the franchise, guessing who will be joining the lineup has always been the source of the biggest discussions. We look for patterns and we come up with fan rules to justify our thinking, but really, we don't need to. Over the years, series creator Masahiro Sakurai has gone on the record to discuss the creative process, what has changed game on game, and what has remained the same since the very beginning. That's what this new Source Gaming series is all about. I am NantenJex, and with the help of YouTuber Yoshiilla, we're going to teach you all the secrets of character selection for the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. After the release of the original Super Smash Bros. In early 1999, Sakurai was unsure on whether he would make a sequel. He even said that he didn't think it would become a series. Oh, young Sakurai, how naive you were. Well, it would only be a few months after the release of Super Smash Bros. 64 in Japan and the US that Sakurai would end up being tasked with creating a Smash 2 for Nintendo's upcoming home system, the Nintendo GameCube. As the first sequel, development on this title was different from the original, and many of the trends we would see Sakurai incorporate into design were put into place here. But Melee had some unique aspects to its development that would shape the game greatly, including how the game's roster was decided. Also, I'm going to be calling it Super Smash Bros. Melee for this video, and you're just all going to have to get used to that. You've been warned. One of the most unique aspects of Melee's development was how Sakurai might have actually viewed it, envisioning Melee as the definitive Super Smash Bros. Experience. Not because of anything specifically about the gameplay like some fans might have you believe, no, rather it was because to Sakurai, the Smash Bros. He had in his head when designing Super Smash Bros. 64 wasn't the version we would get. In an interview with Shigesato Itoi, creator of Earthbound, Sakurai said, "According to the Smash that is in my head, I've only completed about 60% of it. We don't know if the limitations were time, technology, or budget, but something held the original game back. But now with Melee, Sakurai could make his vision a reality. Melee could be the Super Smash Bros. Game Sakurai always wanted." And with that in mind, why don't we start this video looking at the characters who missed their shot in the last game. For those who watched our cut characters video on Super Smash Bros. 64, these names should be familiar to you, and their reasoning for being added should be pretty straightforward. Bowser is up first, Nintendo's biggest baddie. He's clearly an all-star character, which was important for Sakurai, and he had a viable moveset available. Then, for those who watched our last video, you would know that Bowser won the Smash 2 poll Sakurai ran for fans, claiming 169 votes and beating out the competition. He's relevant, he's popular, and he's an all-star, so of course he was going to get in. Next up we have Marth from Fire Emblem, and as our last two videos showed, Sakurai saw Fire Emblem as a major series for Nintendo, and Marth was its most popular character. So sticking to that all-star reasoning, Marth was a shoo-in as well. Including Marth allowed Sakurai to have variation in the sword-wielding characters on the roster, something he said he wanted in his Fire Emblem 25th anniversary interview. Then it's the legendary Pokemon himself, Mewtwo. Not only was Mewtwo the most requested Pokemon by fans, and a very important one, serving as the ultimate battle in the original generation of Pokemon games, but he is important in the Pokemon anime as well, something Sakurai does consider. While Pokemon the first movie came out at least a year before Sakurai decided on the character for Melee, his popularity hadn't withered, and with various Pokemon spin-offs like Pokemon Stadium and the TCG building up the Pokemon brand, essentially guaranteeing the series another fighter, Mewtwo made a ton of sense. Lastly, we have Falco, who was originally considered as a costume in Smash 64, but made it into this game as a fighter. However, I want to save talking about Falco for later. For now, let's look at the rest of the game's cast. A lot of these characters have something unique about them that pushed them to the forefront of development. Additionally, many of them were relevant during the time period of Melee's development as well. First up, we have Nintendo's leading lady, Peach. Peach isn't much of a fighter in the Mario games, however she was playable in Super Mario Bros. 2, which is clearly a massive influence on her moveset in this game. Peach also did well in the Smash 2 polls, placing second overall with 66 votes. Ultimately though, Peach is an all-star character in the Nintendo pantheon, and so her inclusion was more so an inevitability. The same thing could be said for our next fighter, Zelda, the titular character from the Legend of Zelda series, and another princess. While Zelda hadn't been playable before this point in a video game, nope, we don't talk about those ones. In Ocarina of Time, the version of her that Melee is based on, she played a much more proactive role. But the main reason Zelda made it into Super Smash Bros. Melee is because of the unique idea she brought with her. It's not just about importance, relevancy, or their all-star status. Being unique as an actual fighter and bringing something new to the table is critical, and for Zelda, this was the transformation mechanic. Spoilers for a 2-decade plus game at this point, but Sheik was in fact a transformation of Zelda's the whole time, and this idea made Zelda stand out. She could be a heavy-hitting but slower character that could transform into a much faster but weaker Sheik. This is the only reason Sheik got into Super Smash Bros. As well. While Sheik was very relevant, with Ocarina of Time being the biggest Zelda game when Melee was in development, and Sheik was very popular, coming in joint second with Zelda in the Legend of Zelda category from the Smash 2 poll, being Zelda's transformation and allowing for this gimmick solidified her a place amongst this all-star cast. You don't need to be on the A-team to get a spot into Smash, as long as you can bring something new. Our final two characters for this section really hit this point home though, Ice Climbers and Mr. Game & Watch. Let's start with Ice Climbers, and the logic behind their inclusion matches Sheik's. They allowed for a unique gameplay experience for players. When picking a new cast of characters, Sakurai had planned on including someone that would represent the Famicom era of Nintendo, a purposeful throwback fighter. Many of the characters Sakurai considered we will bring up in the next video. For now, just know that Ice Climbers won Sakurai's heart, and the main reason was their uniqueness. Ice Climber, the game, was all about simultaneous multiplayer, a rarity in 1984 on home video game systems. This uniqueness inspired Sakurai to make a duo fighter, one where the player controlled two characters at once. This was the reason the Ice Climbers were chosen, as they had no new games being made at the time, or any on the horizon. It did help, however, that Popo and Nana came in 9th place in the miscellaneous category on the Smash 2 poll. As for Mr. Game & Watch, Sakurai would describe him as a rule-breaking choice. What Sakurai is likely referring to is the fact that he's not really a character, but an amalgamation of various characters from various games. It can also refer to how old the Game & Watch was, and so how out of the current gaming trends it was. Sakurai himself even says that it's hard to buy Game & Watches anymore, at least before Nintendo started making the special edition ones and selling them to us for much more than they're probably worth. It was the uniqueness of his character, his moveset, and his importance to Nintendo's history that led Sakurai to choose him. However, although Game & Watches themselves were harder to purchase at the time, the Game & Watch Gallery series were keeping them relevant, something Sakurai admits himself. The third Game & Watch Gallery was about to launch when Sakurai was choosing characters for the roster, so the Game & Watch series was on people's minds at this point in time. But to call Mr. Game & Watch an all-star is a bit of a stretch. He's a legacy character and a representative for Nintendo's history that they cherish, something we will see again. That is all for Melee's newcomers that were decided in the original project plan, but as we know, these were not the only characters who made it into the game. A handful of characters were chosen mid-development, thanks to their models being similar to that of already existing characters. By Sakurai's own admission, they were chosen for various different reasons, some because of fan requests and popularity, some because of Sakurai's own wants and desires, and some because of their relevance at the time. We have no concrete time period for when the clones were decided on, but Sakurai has gone on record to say that it would be impossible to add a unique newcomer at the time that these clones were decided. Even if all 6 clones were cut, there still wouldn't be enough time or resources to add someone completely new. The process of coming up with a new moveset and new design is much more intensive than simply using what's already there. All that is needed to be done was to make new models and tweak some of the existing movesets, as well as develop extra content like break the targets and trophies. So why were these specific clone characters chosen then? It's time for the attack of the clones. First up is Dr. Mario, and for this we need to look back to those fan emails Sakurai received after Smash 64. In one of them, a fan asked whether or not Dr. Mario could be added as an alternative costume for Mario if there was a Smash 2. It wasn't that simple though. While Dr. Mario was still technically Mario, so Sakurai could use the model and keep his stats relatively the same, certain aspects like the fireballs turning pills necessitated him being a separate character. Sakurai has also stated that he was a fan of the Dr. Mario franchise, especially the music, so this was kind of an excuse to get him in. Moving on, Sakurai enjoys the idea of joke characters in fighting games, and in the original Super Smash Bros. This was Jigglypuff. However, in Melee, he made the decision to buff the Puff, and this meant the joke slot was now free. Not only that, but Super Smash Bros. Melee was currently very Gen 1 heavy. This is partly because when development began, Gen 2 wasn't even out yet, but it was on its way out and did launch mid-development. These two factors primed Pichu up as an obvious clone character. As an inexperienced baby Pokemon, he could be justified as a worse version of Pikachu. Even Jigglypuff could be devastating in the right hands, so Pichu was designed to be just all around bad. Why it was Pichu and not another Pokemon is simply thanks to the anime once again. In summer of 2000, there was a short called Pikachu and Pichu that helped to push Pichu into the public eye, just like Movie 1 did with Mewtwo. Next up is our last character who missed the cut in Smash 64, Falco. Said we'd get back to him. Star Fox 64 was popular and successful. Perhaps due to this success, Sakurai decided to add a second Star Fox character, and Falco was chosen because he was the highest scoring character from Star Fox in the Smash 2 poll. Also, when he compared with Slippy and Peppy, Falco had a build more similar to Fox's, and so the transition would be much easier. Speaking of the Smash 2 poll, amongst all the Zelda characters voted for, tying with Zelda and Sheik was also Young Link. We already have Dr. Mario, an alternative version of Nintendo's main mascot, so why not the second most popular series at the time getting this attention as well? It helps that the Zelda team and Miyamoto specifically saw Young Link as the main Link at that time. According to Sakurai on the Melee website, Adult Link's story and the timeline he created is a side story when compared to the more important child timeline. Funny how debatable that is nowadays. Although considering at the time Majora's Mask was the latest game and it continued the child timeline, you can see they did believe that at least. Young Link had also appeared in more games than Adult Link, who only had 2 under his belt at the time. There's also a technical reason to add Young Link. One of the biggest complaints from fans of Smash 64 was how slow Link was. So Young Link allowed Sakurai to make a speedier version of the character, keeping fans of the original happy while offering an alternative, pleasing everyone. The last 2 clones are actually a bit more complicated in their inclusion into the series, and this is why I left them until last. Let's look at the more unique case first, Roy, because as many of you know, Roy made it into Melee before his original game even released. Now this wasn't intended, the Binding Blade simply got delayed, but when Sakurai was deciding on clones, it wasn't Roy who specifically came to Sakurai's mind. In the character data, Roy is simply listed as Emblem, which shows us that Sakurai did not know which Fire Emblem character was going to be used, just that he wanted to use one. This is probably because Sakurai views Fire Emblem as an important series for Nintendo, and in the Smash 2 poll it managed to get enough votes to have its own category, unlike other series like Metroid and Donkey Kong. So Sakurai just wanted a Fire Emblem character, but using a bit of foresight here, we know that when a fighter gets referred to in a plan as X from series, Sakurai usually means the latest or an upcoming protagonist for the series, asking the original developers who they recommend. So in this case, Sakurai went to Intelligent Systems and inquired about who the next Fire Emblem hero would be, and, if he was similar enough to Marth, could he be playable in Melee? And the developers showed him concept art for Roy. We know Sakurai only had concept art to work off of for Roy, as he later lamented how his version of Roy in Smash isn't quite as accurate to his in-game counterpart as Sakurai would have preferred, stating he seemed like a much wilder character in the development artwork. The takeaway from this for us fans though is that in iterative series, like Fire Emblem or Pokemon, there is a high chance of someone from the newest game in the series to get picked, something we will see over and over again. That leaves one more character to talk about, the luckiest man on the roster, despite what some might say, Ganondorf. Ganondorf was the most popular character from Zelda in the Smash 2 poll. He was relevant because of Ocarina of Time, and Ganon is a major character in the series, the main villain in fact. So It is kind of shocking that Sakurai had considered his inclusion in Melee purely luck-based. But when we break this down, we can see why. Sakurai has stated that Ganondorf's inclusion is entirely down to the fact that he has a slightly similar build to Captain Falcon, and that he happened to appear in the Space World 2000 Zelda tech demo for the GameCube, as this meant there was a high enough quality model for Ganondorf already available that Sakurai could easily use to make him with. This model was practically used wholesale, hence why Ganondorf has a sword in one animation and his cape is the wrong colour. He's a tech demo rep more so than he is an Ocarina of Time character. And that does it for all the fighters who made it into Super Smash Bros. Melee. With Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64, a big focus on character choice was their status as one of Nintendo's AllStar Cast. In this sequel, however, we get slightly different criteria. Many of the newcomers in Melee were important characters to their series and could be considered all-stars in their own right. However, there was a bigger emphasis on unique moveset ideas and representing something from Nintendo. The clones did not follow this criteria exactly, but they were obviously included because of how easy it was to include them, as well as their own set of criteria like popularity and ease of implementation. The development time between the original Super Smash Bros. And Super Smash Bros. Melee was very short, meaning many characters ended up on the cutting room floor. And that is what we're going to be looking at in the next video of this series, when we tackle the cut characters of Super Smash Bros. Melee. But for now, let us know what you thought about Melee's roster. Was all of this expected, or was there some surprises here on why characters got chosen? Let us know in the comments. Also like, share with your friends, notifications, subscribe, you know, all that usual jazz. Our $5 Patreons are on screen right now. They got access to this video a week early, and you can too for just simply $1 on Patreon. A link is down below. And with that, guys, have a wonderful day, and always remember to return to the source.